Hemang Jani is with us now with what he's making of things. Hemang, good morning. Good to have you here. I don't know if you have coverage on MedPlus, but I mean, if you do, weigh in here.
Yeah, good morning, Prashant. We don't cover this, but I do like the fact that the company, is expanding their store network very rapidly, and consistently, the company has done well in terms of both top line and operating profit. And I just heard, the management saying that the kind of margin outlook that he's talking about is looking quite encouraging, and the break even of their new stores. So I think. Looks to be very interesting from a positioning perspective. But I was a little surprised by the fact that the overall return ratios, despite the pharmacy distribution being a high margin business, is about 10.5, 11%. So that is something that I'm really not very sure why it is so low. But overall, I do think that this kind of companies, in the current scenario, would have a good appetite.
Okay, that's MedPlus. Hemang, hi, good morning. Just checking, have you had a look at Bharat Dynamics recently with this whole buzz around defense?
Absolutely, Shilpi. Good morning. I do think that in the current scenario, people would have a slightly, preferred kind of a bias for the, defense names, given, in Indo-Pak escalation. Globally, also, we are seeing that more and more countries are opting for upgrade. So in that kind of a scenario, given the positioning of Bharat Dynamics, the missile-related work that they do, there would be certainly interest. But particularly talking about the numbers, I was a bit disappointed by the margins. If you have a lumpiness as high as 50%, and 37% of the margins can drop to almost sub 17%. It will be difficult to gauge how that scenario is going to play out. Also, the top line growth was not that great. Only thing is order inflow part, they're doing well. They have a certain specific offering on the sell side. So maybe some allocation would be good to have, but I will not be comfortable chasing such stock in the current scenario.
I mean, I'm glad you brought this up. That's why I brought up the stock, because the results have been a little disappointing, and the stock has had a massive run up in the last 3-4 months. So take that point. Look at that, 92% in 3 months. That's Bharat Dynamics for you. And it's followed up with Q4 performance that, that's not all full green, you can say. Hemang, speaking of all full green, I mean, these power equipment companies, GE, Vernova, T&D, Hitachi, GE, Vernova itself is up 40% in 1 month. Your thoughts?
I think the whole theme, Surbhi, is back in the vogue, and I think people earlier had concerns. Let's say for solar companies, the US-related developments were not looking that great. But I think when we look at the numbers, when we look at the management con calls, the growth, I think some of these companies do look quite attractive. G Vernova is a very niche kind of play, nuclear-related stuff, good strong order book and growth. So we do like that. I do think that within the themes, let's say if I have to choose between solar and these kind of companies, certainly solar has its own sort of issues in the current scenario. But GE Vernova and power equipment related stories are looking far more attractive.
Okay, all right. Hi, Hemang. Good to see you in as always. NMDC's numbers a little bit weakish because of other expenditures spiking up. However, Q1 will be much better because they've taken price increases of around 400 rupees per ton, which bodes well for them. Your view on the stock?
So, Nigel, good morning. NMDC numbers not looking that great. Stock has done well in the recent past, but I do think that, the short run, because of the fact that people want to own up some of the commodity names, Speed, Sale, NMDC, even the large cap names, I would go with something like Sale or Tata Steel, at this point versus an NMDC.
Okay, Sale or Tata Steel in comparison to NMDC. Got it. The other set of numbers that we had was from JK Lakshmi Cement. And these numbers actually looked quite good. I was looking at, the last time as well, they delivered pretty okay set of numbers. But this time around, there's a big improvement of 300 rupees per ton on a sequential basis on EBITDA per ton. The street will like it. Your view?
Positive numbers, Nigel, both in terms of top line, even margin side, about 18.5, not that bad compared to Q4. I think we have to see what kind of outlook do we see from the management for this year. But certainly, we do like the company and the current performance. Even on in terms of valuations, it is looking quite comfortable at this point. But what stood out for me, Nigel, was JK Cement's number. I think both in terms of current quarterly numbers, the growth outlook, that really stood out. Though it's a bit of expensive stock, but I definitely think that people would want to own that.
Let's go back to Hemang Jani, though. He's still with us. Hemang, we discussed a couple of metal stocks from the Ferris pack. You said instead of NMDC, you prefer Tata Steel as well as SAIL. What about any view on Hindustan Copper? For the first time in many, many years, actually, we'll be having the management at around 9:30 a.m. on the show itself. Your view on the stock, valuation-wise, not cheap at all at 50 times. However, if you want to play the copper price story, there's only one way. That's Hindustan Copper. The other ones, Hindalco as well as Vedanta, they are more into TCRC. Your take on Hindustan Copper?
I think, as you rightly said, though it's a monopoly and very low floating stock, small company, but the valuation comfort is missing. Also, when you have this kind of a frenzy for some of the PSU names, I'm not too comfortable chasing these stocks. So I would really want to kind of see a bit of stability, a bit of a cool off before I really venture into it. But within the pack, I think Nalco really stood out for us in terms of numbers, in terms of growth plans.
Nalco, all right. You prefer Nalco on that one. A quick question on Eternal. Yesterday as well, the stock was a little bit subdued. If you want to look at it from a positive perspective, is this entire rejig of global indices is taking place, but bulk of it is getting lapped up. DIIs have 24% in the company, and mutual funds, active and passive together, have 19% out of that. So, the selling is getting absorbed gradually. I think on Friday, we'll have another MSCI rejig, which will be close to $500 million of selling. Post that, will be interesting to see what the stock does, because the QIP was done at 250 rupees. What's your view at 225?
So, Michael, as you said, there are technical factors in the selling, and this came as a bit of a surprise because the sense one was getting was that the selling will not be that significant. So if you see a meaningful correction in the stock, let's say another 3-5%, surely it would present a great opportunity, because I think overall in terms of performance numbers, things are looking good. On the quick commerce side, it may take a while, but I think the market has accepted that, and still people are looking out for growth-oriented, fintech. So surely would be a buyer at any correction.
We still have Hemang with us, and we'll start getting the pre-open rates, any second now. Hemang, so earnings season almost winding up. Tell us, from the mid-cap universe, what were the one or two earning stars that really stood out for you, where stocks weren't a buy, looking at the numbers?
Yeah, Sukhri, I think for the overall market, the earnings season has been quite okay, though the expectations were on the lower side. So what stood out for us was companies like UDS, which is a managed services outsourcing part. I think they delivered very good, strong set of numbers. PLS Limited, which is a visa processing company, that also I think the numbers were very strong, and we do like that theme and that entire sector per se. We do like something in the auto ancillary space, company called as SJS Enterprise, which numbers were okay, but I think they have got a big breakthrough. Hero Motor, they have been able to kind of manage to get their client list. So I think these are some of the mid-cap names that we like at this point, where the numbers were very good.
Hemang, where's the first one? You said BLS and SJS. What was the first one?
UDS, Traded Services.
Okay,
UDS.
all right. Got that. Before we let you go, we'll be having a full-blown discussion on this in just a bit. So let me ask you as well. Interglobe Aviation, right? And yesterday in Aviation, we were all just talking about it, that market wisdom used to be that you can never make money out of aviation stocks, and Interglobe has turned that wisdom on its head. What are your thoughts now? Looking at the stupendous rise, is it too late to get in? What to do? They have virtual monopoly, we know that, but it's about the P&L and the operations.
Not just about making money, but making solid money when it comes to Interglobe Aviation. And I do think that this year, this financial year, both in terms of price performance and in terms of earnings, this would be the best performing stock on Nifty by far. Given the, the new airports are being opened up, the international presence, there may be a 1 month kind of a issue because of that airspace thing and certain cancellations. But Interglobe, I think by far will be the best performing stock in Nifty this year.
By the way, Hemang, any thoughts on Financial? Was the top gainer yesterday on the Nifty. Of course, that approval has come through on the mutual fund business side. Anything here?
Expectations are high, Prashant, but it's all about different business company getting the approvals and this and that. But you can't justify the current valuations in the market cap. So would rather prefer something which is delivering. This quarter we have a whole host of companies, be it financial services or many sectors that are performing and available at a much better valuation. So not a big believer of this pedigree and all of that.
Okay. All right. Got that, Hemang. Good to be speaking with you this morning. Thanks for all the discussions and the ideas there. You have a good trading day.